Hey there, Sagittarius. How's it going? Welcome to the Mercury retrograde, by the way. Of all of the people who are dealing with the Mercury retrograde, so I've heard you guys are in a bit of a predicament, and we're going to do a tarot reading to see what exactly is going on. Now, this reading, as you know, if you've ever been to my channel before, could be about anything. Finances, house, travel, money, love, relationships, friends, family, the vacation home that you want to buy. I'm shuffling these cards right in front of you because I don't know what they are yet. So we're going to find them out together. Or rather, not because, but yeah, that's what I'm doing. We're going to find it out together because I'm shuffling them. I'm also going to give you a nice close look at these cards so that you guys can see the depictions on them. And unlike last month, I am using a new deck. This is called the Orion's Animal Tarot deck. It is still based off of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, just like the one I was using last month, which was the last unicorn deck. But it has really nice oriental, minimalistic even kind of depictions, which I really love. So with all of that being said, my name's Lindsay and welcome to Lindy D Tarot, and let's get into discovering what's going on with this reading. Okay, so the first thing that I notice here is that one of my favorite cards is here, and it is the Two of Cups. Let me zoom on in for you here. The Two of Cups, whether it's in the upright or the reversal position, Arthur Edward Waite, who is the creator of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, he published an instruction booklet in 1910 called The Pictorial Key to the Tarot. And he described that the Two of Cups is a holy, even sanctified, spiritually soulmatey, you could say, union between two people. Deeply platonic, the kind of relationships that you feel like a person is a best friend. There's just like this connection that they're like your home, even, you could say. This can happen with love relationships where you became friends first, even. And Arthur Edward Waite had said when describing the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which most modern decks are based off of, that this card, whether it's in the upright or the reversal, and right now you have it in the reversal, is a card of union and beautiful happiness and coming togetherness. The thing is it is being paired here with another two in the reversal and the Hermit card, as well as the Eight of Cups and the Seven of Wands. Now, the Hermit card obviously indicates that somebody might be on their own instead of together. So I am thinking that this is a reading where two people are separate from one another. Again, that could be deep friendship, but it could also be a love situation. And this separation, this being on your own with the Hermit energy, is coming with a necessity to being on your own, because it feels like somebody, when they're in the upright position with the Hermit card, has to learn a very deep spiritual lesson. And I like that it's in the upright position because it does insinuate that a person is actually attempting to learn the lessons that the universe is bringing to them. When the Hermit is in the reversal, that's when you have a person who is resistant to learning and growing. But it does look like the people involved in this, they do want to grow. They just might be having some difficulties or making some wrong decisions. We'll see in a moment here. But speaking of decisions that someone's making, brings me back to that Eight of Cups energy in the reversal. And as you know, if you've ever seen the Eight of Cups in any other tarot reading with any of the other beautiful tarot readers out there, it is a depiction of a person who is walking away from everything that they have set up, leaving all of the cups to essentially stand on their own, be disregarded, be spilled over. And on the Eight of Cups card, originally in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it is a man in a black cloak that looks a lot like the Hermit energy. But because it's a card of walking away from a situation, you can understand why we've got more than one theme going on here in this reading, where it looks like people are separated. People have set something up previously and are no longer together. Someone has walked away. Ace of Swords is also here in the reversal position, which many people would take that card to mean that there is no effective communication going on between the two people. And I also want to say that with the Ace of Swords, when it's in the reversal, well, think of it this way, actually. When it's in the upright, it's a victory. There's typically a crown associated with the Ace of Swords, but in the reversal, it can mean calamity has happened. That the communication was so ineffective, whether that means that somebody was actually really bad with their communication or whether somebody was harsh with their words and communicating negatively, whatever it is, or not communicating at all, or stonewalling even, it's a calamitous situation here. I want to talk a little bit about this Two of Pentacles here that's here as well. Because it's in the reversal, it has a very unique meaning that a lot of people miss. When people see the traditional Two of Pentacles, they think of someone who's balancing their finances. Because I know a lot of people are focused on messages coming when it's like the Page. And you do have the Page of Swords here, which is a card of messages. But most people do not know that the Two of Pentacles, when it's in the reversal, actually can mean handwritten exchanges and exchanges of communication. I mean, this deck was made in a time prior to the age of the internet, which is why it became associated with handwritten letters and exchanges of communication in a handwriting sense instead of texting people. But when you put it in a modern sense, you can understand that it's not just letters and pen pal type stuff. It's genuinely a card of communication. And I want you to think about, if you do know the picture of the Two of Pentacles in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck for a moment here, that traditional upright card is a man who's balancing these two coins, but he's doing it on one foot. It's a lot on his plate. It looks like at any moment, these two coins that he's juggling, it quite literally is a picture of a man juggling. It seems like that would be really difficult. It's not a position of enjoyment, typically, because you have to balance so much on one foot, metaphorically speaking. And that's why in the reversal, the Two of Pentacles is also a really good card to get because it can mean enjoyment, not just letters of exchange, but happiness and enjoyment, because you are no longer stressing yourself out over the same dynamics you would be if this card was in the upright position and there was all of this juggling around that had to happen. Now, I want to mention something that's really interesting. Let's talk about that Page of Swords for a second also. Because, of course, the Page of Swords, like I said, is also a concept of communication. But when the card is in the upright position, it can have to do with things that are unseen. Even sometimes being a little bit unprepared for communication that could come. And yes, this is a card of spying. This is quite literally, like by some of its oldest definitions, again, before an age of text messaging and the internet and the idea of creeping on your spouse and stuff like that, on creeping their profile kind of vibe. This card actually did traditionally mean spying. So it does give that insinuation that there is a potential of messages that come forward between the two people here, but they are unseen right now because it is a card of hidden things and a card of spying. And it is the swords, which is the things that are in the mind, that is a little bit harder for things to be seen, right? At least they are seen by one of the people, but they don't get seen by the other one until all of a sudden the sword presents itself. Then we can see through the depictions of this card and the illustrations on the original Rider-Waite-Smith deck that messages may very well come up. It's just they tend to come up out of nowhere for one of the people. They really do seem unforeseen. And that, I'm not surprised because the Knight of Wands is here. And the Knight of Wands does get a bad rep when he's in the reversal position, because he is somebody who charges in for what they want. But in the reversal position, they have a tendency to not necessarily commit to the game of communicating or the game of going for what they want. They stumble it. They can actually end up quite literally tripping over their own 2 feet, or tripping over the object of their desire or person of their desire and just messing it up, or not even going for it, withholding back sometimes, is the energy of the Knight of Wands, because when it's in the reversal, it also means division. And it's a kind of division that happens when somebody is dealing with a rupture or an interruption. again, it feels messy. Also, sitting next to the Two of Pentacles, remember how I mentioned that that is a person who's off balance? That's what a rupture will do in life. When somebody deals with an experience that they did not see and it ruptures underneath their feet, that's what a rupture is. Like, think of an earthquake underneath you and the ground literally splits. It doesn't split slowly usually. Something happens very quickly that shakes things up so fast you lose balance. And so I think that this person generally has the ability to be off balance. And so they ended up in a position where they brought themselves into this whole division, walking away from dynamic. I honestly don't think that this person means to do that. I don't think this person wakes up and says to themselves, like opens their eyes in the morning, laying in bed, stretches their arms out. I don't think when they wake up in the morning, they say to themselves, you know what I want to do today? Fuck everything up. I really think they want to have a good experience in life. I don't think this is a malicious person. And even the Seven of Wands in the reversal, it's a card of embarrassments and anxiety. Like, this person fumbles things. I think this person thinks now especially that they are embarrassed for the way that they've been handling things. Now, there's a difference between someone who does things maliciously through some learning lessons. Maybe they let vengeance or their mouth get the best of them. That doesn't mean that forever that they want to be someone who's acting embarrassingly, even if they might be for a little bit of time, for a season, for some kind of reason. Again, thinking of this person when they were a child, they probably didn't wake up and say, you know what I want to be when I grow up, Mom? A fuck up, you know? And when they're older and they're looking back on it, I'm sure they didn't want to say to themselves, you know what I want to do with all 50 years of my life? Suck at it. I think this person might be making some shitty decisions, coming from a bit of a reckless place, but that it is also giving them a lesson, especially with the Hermit, of how not to deal with embarrassments that they are how to deal with embarrassments that they are causing themselves. Now, this is the situation, okay? Now we want to know, what are they going to do about it in the end? That's my question here. As I read all of these cards, I say, okay, this is what's up. But I want to know what they're going to do about this whole situation. There is disunity between people. Someone is like making mistakes that are almost freaking embarrassing. Again, was there no communication? That original disunity. There was like 3 cards of disunity. The Hermit card was there. The Two of Cups was in the reversal position. Right? The Eight of Wands walking away. There was a lot of Ace of Swords in the reversal. No communication, distance. So the first thing right out the gate here, we have the Eight of Wands. We do have communication coming. The King of Cups and the Queen of Cups is here. Did I just really pull the King and the Queen out together? For those of you who are dealing with love situations, like, yeah, this person may be behaving in an embarrassing way, but this is a paired union. Like, what? Oh, the Queen of Wands is here. Are we dealing with a 3-way? Is that the embarrassment? Was this person speaking to somebody they shouldn't be? 9 of Swords, because they were absolutely anxious prone and making decisions that are embarrassing out of their own anxiety. 9 of Wands, they were doing it to protect themselves. Again, it feels like this person didn't wake up and say, how do I fuck my whole day up or my whole life up? But if they're in protection mode, they could have acted in a way where they tried to save themselves from some kind of hurt. Oh boy. You know what that makes me think of now, actually? We got a lot of doubles here to talk about. Well, okay, so what are they going to do? To me, it looks like they're going to have a communication, and messages are coming in. It's in the upright position, which I really like, so the communication is likely going to be constructive. They're going to have to discuss the protection mode that they're in and the anxiety that they're in. Also, 9 of Swords in the reversal is regret and guilt. That's the second time we saw that, because we saw the other card, the 7 of Wands in the reversal, which is embarrassment. Typically people who are in a state of guilt also feel a sense of embarrassment connected to it. So we've got 2 cards with the same energy here. But again, we had in total here 2 twos. Both of them were in the reversal position. We have 2 queens. We had 2 eights. And now we have 2 nines. And according to Arthur Edward Waite, when he wrote that beautiful instruction booklet on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck in 1910 and published it for us all to read, he gave us the instructions, not just of what every card means, but he also said what cards mean when they are with each other, because he believed that the deck he was creating should best be used with clarification cards. If anybody ever uses the Rider-Waite-Smith deck and tells you as a tarot reader that it's unprofessional to use clarification cards, they're out of their mind, or they're not reading the instruction booklets themselves, which is wild to me. So let's discuss that a little bit, since clarification cards are a part of the original way you look at them. In fact, Arthur Edward Waite went so far as to say, when you use the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, the OG, the most popular deck that you can use, that you can shuffle the entire deck again and reread to clarify that much. Don't mind you if you hear the bells a-ringing. That was my son coming in the room. Joshua brought a bell with him, a cleansing bell. So I guess that was a little way that he cleansed our session for us. Let's start off with talking about those 2 twos, okay? The 2 twos, when you have them both in the reversal, which this one and this one are both in the reversal, it means mistrust. And before I discussed, I was going to go to the 8s and the 9s. But those queens, when you have 2 queens in the upright, it means sincere friends. So although this reading can be about relationships for some people, for others of you, like I said in the beginning of this reading, there's a deep platonic element to this with the 2 of Cups. So this could be friends who have been long-standing, sincere friends that all of a sudden are in a position of mistrust. But I do want to say, though, that when you have 2 nines, which you do have here in the reversal, it does mean that there is a small profit to be had in this. And I believe that profit, which means something you're going to gain, is going to come with the communication. So it's not a full loss here. It's not just that everything has to go to shit. It does look to me like when you guys have communication, parts of the communication are going to be beneficial, because you've got the 2 nines here in the reversal, which is lovely. Now, if this is a romance thing for some of you, again, it does make me feel like there was a potential third party. Because, not just because there's 3, pardon me. No, there's only two queens. Oh, sorry. I was looking at this King of Cups here for a second, and my brain went to go think of it as a queen. I was going to say, if it was 3 queens, there's deception by women involved in this. So the fact that I spit that out makes me think my intuition was getting ahead of itself for a good reason. And if you didn't understand what I just said there, because I kind of fumble my words, I was about to say that for people who are in a love relationship thing, there could have been a third party. If there was 3 queens, it would mean deception by women. And I was going to give you a warning about that. Like, hey, if there is another woman involved in this, that person is a little bit deceptive. That person could have been pulling the wool over other people's eyes. But there isn't 3 queens here. That's why I just realized that. I was like, oh, right, this is the King of Cups. Now the King of Cups is someone who is moody. And it's next to the card of mistrust with the 2s. Where were those? Oh, the 2s were in the first half of the reading. Remember, I said 2 2s in the reversal is mistrust, and the 9 of Wands is protection. So I think that perhaps if there was a third woman involved in this, a third queen, you could say, their issue in this might not have been that they intended to be super deceptive, but that they were moody individuals just trying to protect themselves, so they're acting out of fear and mistrust, which we saw in the beginning of the reading. And if this is a friendship situation, again, the same thing applies. It doesn't look like it's the worst person in the world, but this is another human. This is a person. They just happen to be a little bit moody and mistrustful and trying to protect themselves. And because of that, they don't necessarily make the best choices. They make choices that are embarrassing, quite frankly. So we talked about the 2s, we talked about the 9s, we talked about the queens, right? The 8s. Okay. Now, in this part, you have 1 8 that was in the upright. At the beginning of this reading, you had 1 8 in the reversal. So 2 8s total. But when you have them both in the upright, they have a certain meaning. When you have both of them in the reversal, they have their own meaning. It happens to be that when you have them in the reversal position, which one was it again? Oh, right. It's misfortune that happens. And when it's in the upright, it's new information. I know. Again, you would not know. You think new information might belong to the Ace of Swords or something. But nope, if you have 2 8s that are in the upright position, you get new information that comes in. And we already saw that the 8 of communication is here. So again, what is this person going to do? There's going to be communication that comes in. That's the thing. It's going to be profitable. There's a little bit of profit, remember, that comes in with this communication. And it's not just going to be communication that you already know. It is actually going to give you a new insight and new information about this dynamic, including, I'm sure, why someone was trying to protect themselves, why somebody felt or feels so guilty. Let me do that. I'm going to read one more question in this, and whatever other secrets that they wanted to talk about in this communication. But the one question that I want to ask about this, though, is are they going to admit that they feel really guilty about this? Because that 9 of Swords in the reversal, like I said, brings on that dynamic of guilt. Page of Wands is here in the reversal position. That's 2 pages now, right? Page of Swords and Page of Wands. Remember, Page of Swords has a quality of deception and hidden things. Conveniently, a lot of those hidden things are going to come to light in the conversation that you have. And it's unfortunate when it's paired with the Page of Wands because, and this sucks, but because the Page of Wands, when he's in the reversal, is news. It's just the word Arthur Edward Waite uses in 1910 to describe it is evil news. So it's not going to be news that's comfortable. It's going to be news that hurts. That's why the fox is here. In Japanese history, if you know anything about the foxes, they can be one of 2 things a lot of the times: protectors, divine guiders, messengers, and on the other side of that divine energy is tricksters, is mischief makers, right? They've got a dual aspect to them. And so I do think that, again, communication is due for you, but the communication is going to hurt. There's going to be aspects of it that hurt. There's going to be aspects of it that are profitable for your growth because the Hermit card was here. And it'll give you clarification and let you know about what steps to take next. So I'm going to leave you guys off with that. Communication is coming to you. It is real world communication. It is not sugar-coated. And the person is going to discuss the aspects that they regret, but I will say that they might not regret things for the same reason you hope that they do, because the news is a little bit on the shitty side. Again, evil news is the message that comes with that Page of Wands in the reversal sometimes. So it's real shit. It's real communication. You're doing you're going to be pulling your big boy and big girl panties on when you have that communication with this person. I don't think this person is going to be deceptive in this conversation. And that's why it's big boy and big girl mode now, because it's not going to be like someone who just makes you feel better when you have the conversation. It'll be adult time. They'll tell you the good. They'll tell you the shit, right? And then you'll be able to make your decisions in life clearly on what they're communicating, because they're actually laying it out properly like an adult would, which I do like. It's just going to be difficult. But I have faith in you guys because you guys rock. You guys are tough cookies, man. You take big risk, high reward, right? So I don't think this will be the only time that you have to deal with negativity, but I also think that there's many times that you're going to deal with positivity as well. And this will be one of those times that grows you towards the kind of positivity that you can welcome in your life later on from being strong enough and having the experience of going through this and processing it. So I'm going to leave you guys off with that. If you guys are interested in any monthly readings or my sale that I just have on for the last week, that's any 3 questions for $20. Feel free to get a hold of me. My information is in the description below or in any of the links in my bio. And yeah, I'm going to leave that there. Many blessings to you guys, and ciao for now.